good afternoon, everybody. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather. It's been a little while since we had storms in our area. We've had summer weather for a while, but we are back with storms here, and we have storms that are strong. You see this blue box here, that is indicating a special weather statement. Excuse me, that's not showing where there is severe weather right now, although we did have a severe thunderstorm earlier this afternoon, and that was up in the Metroplex. So Dallas and Tarrant, Collin and Denton counties. These storms moving at a decent clip, 20 to 30 miles per hour here, and we'll put that in motion for you. See if it'll go into motion for you. Maybe, okay, there we go. It's it was buffering that last image there for a second. But you can see all of these outflow boundaries that are getting bounced around. And you can see that we had one round, they kind of fell apart, and then all of these outflow boundaries ignited another round. I think that's pretty much going to continue through most of the afternoon. We're going to see a few of the storms that blow up and move forward. They kind of run out of gas after a little while, but then as they get squashed by all that, the lack of, what am I trying to say? there's a word there, subsidence, that downward moving air. As they get squashed, they push all that energy down and out. You get outflow boundaries, and that helps create new storms. So just kind of a cycle here, and I think that pattern will continue as all of this continues to move to the southeast. Really, what was left of the storms farther to our northwest, much more widespread rain out there, that fell apart. That put out a outflow boundary that brought all of this in. And then again, we've just seen kind of this up and down pattern throughout the afternoon. And it's about just after 2 o'clock here, so we are getting into kind of our peak heating of the day. That peak heating gives you a little more lift, and that will help to give rise to more storms here. And you can see as far east as Gun Barrel City over in Henderson County, Athens, a few showers and thunderstorms out that way, but these are not quite as heavy as the storms that are in really, again, what is left of that complex farther to the northwest as this continues to move through. You can see in Johnson County some pretty loud storms going on right now, from Cleburne on up towards Alvarado and Venus there, down towards Rio Vista and Grandview. So these will continue on, and there are outflow boundaries everywhere. I mean, even going back behind the storms there, moving through Fort Worth. But it's just going to be kind of a wait and see deal for areas farther to the southeast. What will this look like in Corsicana? Will there be anything left to go into Hill County? It's hard to say one way or the other exactly what to expect from all of this activity, but there's a decent chance of at least getting something today as we continue to watch this wave, this leftover energy from that outflow boundary move southeastward through north central Texas. The severe thunderstorm warning that we had earlier today was primarily for gusty winds. I haven't really seen a lot of hail issues going on here. This special weather statement does warn of winds, I believe up to, 40 miles per hour, so in excess actually. So 40 to 50 mile per hour winds possible between the storms and the outflow. Gusty winds can be expected here. Not looking at much of a hail concern today. We did have a special weather statement earlier that warned of the possibility of some pea-sized hail. So any hail we do get will be quite a bit smaller. But the good news is that we are looking at not really the kind of severe weather that we might see in the spring. Not looking at very large hail, very intense winds, or anything of that nature. So that said, though, I wanted to go ahead and jump on and talk about this because this second round of storms, a little more widespread than the last one, and I know we weren't looking at a very high chance of storms today. It was very conditional on what all of that was going to look like as it pulled through. And Jasmine saying it feels like we haven't done this in a while, and it has been a minute, but I will tell you that spring pretty well continued through early to mid-July. I definitely wasn't able to go on my usual summer autopilot as early as we thought, and for our area here, this is just more rain to kind of keep the drought conditions at bay. We haven't been looking at drought conditions for our area yet this season, and that's a godsend because normally by the time we're getting into early to mid-August, we're looking at some of those drought conditions worsening. So we're in a pretty good spot, and this will definitely help. Unfortunately, though, we could go without the lightning, the strong winds that may do some damage, those kinds of things, but any kind of rain for our area in August is definitely welcome. So this line of storms, as I mentioned, we're going to see this continue moving on to the southeast, somewhere between 20 and 30 miles per hour. This wave, like the last one did, may kind of taper off, and then we could see another wave that gets created by the outflow boundaries that are put out by this one, just as the last one was. So just this cycle, right? This pattern of one wave running out of gas and then the outflow boundaries that are produced creating another one, and so on and so on and so on. So if you're farther to the southeast wondering, I know there's folks in Corsicana, down in Southern Hill County, wondering what's going to happen to you. Again, it all depends on all of this, but I would say it's a pretty decent chance you get something. Now, whether it will be a quick shower or possibly one of these heavier thunderstorms like we're seeing in Johnson and Dallas counties right now, even parts of Ellis County near Midlothian there, it really depends. It's hard to say too definitively what can be expected, but we'll see what that does as it moves closer to the parts of Ellis and Navarro counties that are a little bit farther away. Right now, the best chance of getting some storms is going to be in Ellis County. I would say Johnson and Ellis counties probably have the better chance right now. Farther south, not looking as likely, but still possible. We can't rule it out for those particular areas here. Now, something else I want to mention too, and I just saw an update to this effect. We have storms moving through right now. Our next chance of rain, and in fact, I'm starting to get a few questions about that. Another chance of rain could move in tomorrow. Looks like tomorrow morning for the most part. And again, it's kind of conditional. We could see a complex of storms moving south out of Oklahoma. Could be mid to late morning time when we look at those storms, but again, it depends on how much of that complex is left as it moves in, and then do we have energy left over to create some more storms in the afternoon? Very conditional. That's some of the trouble we have in these summer events, because we have these dynamics in place that are generally going to fight these storms. That's why none of these are necessarily lasting very long. They're dependent on new triggers, i.e. in this case, those outflow boundaries to create those new storms. And then when they run out of gas, we need more outflow boundaries, which we are getting. We are blessed here with plenty of outflow winds that are continuing this cycle. But tomorrow morning, we'll have to see if that complex makes it down this way. If it does, is it still bringing us showers and thunderstorms, or has it fallen apart? And does it hang out long enough into the afternoon to create new storms in its wake? So it's unclear what tomorrow will look like, but we do have at least a chance of showers and thunderstorms tomorrow morning. And I mean, if we continue on with storms this evening, does that possibly affect what could move in early tomorrow morning? So a lot of questions to be asked, but generally in our area, we're looking at drier conditions, less conducive to storms, which is why we usually have drought conditions in the summer. And so generally I tend to lean towards doubting for rain for our area, but it could happen there. So for the forecast tomorrow, give me a little patience. We're gonna have to wait and see what some of that looks like for those folks. And Krista, you're saying that it's first day of school tomorrow. And if that's the case, then some of those kiddos could be dropped off in a little bit of rain in the morning. I know that tomorrow morning as well, we begin National Health Center Week festivities at Hope Health and other community health centers around the area. So if that's the case and you have things outside, you might be looking at a contingency plan for that. The good news is, though, Friday, Hope Health here in Waxahachie, 572 Coleman Street, there next to the police station. We're going to have a nice health and resource fair that day. South Metro weather will be there with a cooling station, so it will be warm that day. It looks like mid to upper 90s, but we will be keeping you cool out there for some of the festivities, both indoors and out. But we'll make sure you're comfortable, and we'll learn a little bit about summer weather health safety as well. And so you're saying, should you cancel your reservation for Topgolf at 3 in Dallas? Well, the good news is here, it's 2:12 now, so if your tee time is at 3, I would say everything looks to be moving out of that point, out of there by then. And let's now, Logan, you have a good point. This is rolling into Glen Heights. Let's take a look at the Glen Heights Cyclone Port camera there. Let's turn that on. There we go. So let's take a look at Glen Heights and see what this is looking like there. You can definitely see those clouds rolling in, and you can see those rain shafts, the kind of those blankets of rain there. You can see one, kind of a smaller one here. You might be looking at that lowering. The good news is I don't see anything rotating and not any kind of tornadic anything. So if you see these little lowerings here, just these cloud formations, the good news is those are what we call SLCs, or scary looking clouds, right? So not every little lowering you see somewhere is going to be a tornado. So if you're looking at that, if anything, that is pushed by the downdraft. And you can see the camera is shaking a little bit here as well. That is an indication of those gustier winds that we've been talking about that are not only coming out of neighboring storms, but coming from the downbursts of occasional strong winds out of these storms that at times may be an indication of the storm weakening soon. But like I said, that cycle continues, creating those new storms going on. And Katie Donaldson saying a baby tornado touchdown southwest of Foreston on 35. That must have been a little dust devil or something. No storms to create tornadoes there. So we'll see what that looked like. But I'll have to look at that picture. Let's see if I can. Does not want to cooperate with me here. Yeah, hard to see. Hard to see that. That could be. All right, let's take a look here. So this is a picture reportedly from southwest Ellis County here. Let's see if we can. That's not what I want. This is what I want. All right, let's take a look at this. So this is a picture that was sent in by Katie Donaldson. This is southwest Ellis County. And you can see, and I'm looking at another monitor to kind of get a better picture, it's very tough to see what we're looking at here, especially because it's stationary. It's not a moving image. But it looks like, just judging on, again, this is kind of a fuzzy photo, so it's hard to see. But if we're seeing something that reaches to the ground here, it almost looks too straight at this point. There's a curve and then it's just straight down. So it's hard to see what we're looking at here. I can't rule out a little tropical funnel here or something. The good news is there was not a severe storm attached to this, so this wouldn't be any kind of an intense tornado or anything like that. You could have a little tropical funnel that's just a quick little spin up of some weaker winds there. But again, hard to see exactly what we're looking at there. And again, that was southwest Ellis County, picture sent in. It's just really hard to see what we're looking at there. Just kind of very faded and almost, straight there. So we'll keep watching for that kind of stuff. And again, this is a kind of a broader picture, but yeah, this is kind of what we're looking at there. But let's go back to the radar, getting more reports from Glen Heights here. And Glen Heights, of course, is where we have this display port camera. Let me kind of reset things on my end. Nathan, I mean, it could be a land spout. Didn't look like that organized, but again, I'm not seeing motion, so it's really tough to see what we were looking at. Whatever it wasn't very organized, and that's the good news. You can see we've got a couple little rain drops there. Let me see if I can, again, reset things on my monitor. But we're still seeing plenty of rain out there. We're still seeing the camera shaking a little bit in Glen Heights. And let's actually take a look at the temperature there. We can get back over to just that screen. So a nice 83 degrees, 83.5 there. And you can see that temperature trend has dropped over the last several minutes as we've had this rain coming through. So nice look at Glen Heights where these showers are coming through. But again, like I said, You see that one already starting to kind of fall apart as it moves into the DeSoto area, but decent showers and thunderstorms continue in parts of Johnson County. We got maybe a few little showers there in Bosque and Hill counties. I know you see this little curvature here. I'm not worried about that. I think that's a little more coincidental than looking at something rotating in that area just north of Ferris in the Wilmer area. So that's the good news, but we will look at the velocity view just to kind of get an idea of where these gustier winds are. So you could be looking at some gusty winds. Well, it looks like they've weakened there a little bit. So south of Mesquite could be some gusty winds there. Parts of Johnson County over into western Ellis County there. So could be some gusty winds in those areas as well. Now I want to point your attention south of Cleburne here. You see this little pocket. I think that could be maybe a downburst trying to occur there, because what you're going to see, it's going to start kind of round and then it kind of spreads out. And so we can go back a few, I think that we could be looking at a downburst there. Again, that's going to be that downward moving air that moves out, brings very heavy rain, then moves outward. That's where you get your outflow boundaries, and that could very well be an indication of gusty winds there, but also could be an indication that storm is getting ready to weaken as well. So that's just the cycle that we have had today. Pretty decent storm on the east side of Mesquite. They're moving into Kaufman County. Little shower there between Waxahachie and Midlothian. So just different parts of this line continue to be active across our area, but you see these outflow boundaries. You see this one here that is still there and could be ready to produce some more storms, and you can see those kind of converging there in southwest Johnson County. No severe weather right now. We just have this special weather statement in place, and that is an indication that we did have winds of 40 to 50 miles per hour in some of these storms, but nothing severe at this time. I think we'll go through most of the afternoon probably without too much severe weather to talk about, but the main feature we're looking at, again, is just you see how many of these little storms are starting to taper off. The one here in Johnson County, we're soon going to see that weakening. You can see this one as well, like I said, about to move over 35. That one's kind of run out of gas. But again, you see that one's running out of gas and it gives outflow. Well, then that gives this little storm just outside of Waxahachie a little more intensity. That's just going to be the off and on pattern of these particular storms moving forward. So that's the positive news here, is that we don't really have an atmosphere for persistent or really intense severe weather. Can't rule out a severe thunderstorm warning or two, mostly for those winds of maybe 58 to 65 miles per hour. I think 65 is probably pushing it, but if we do get severe weather here, it won't be very long lived. It won't be very intense at that point. Very kind of minimal severe weather possible, or at least expected here in this area as this goes forward. Then the next chance of rain moves in tomorrow morning. Do we have storms that make it here tomorrow morning, or do they die out before they make it south of the Metroplex? And then do we have outflow and leftover energy from tomorrow morning storms to create afternoon storms? Lots of questions. It's one of those things where this depends on this, depends on this, depends on this. That's what we call a conditional forecast. That's why we talk about it's conditional on this, which is conditional on this. Pretty common in the summer, so that's why sometimes our storm forecasts are not that easy to give. Certainly timing can be tough as well. So we'll continue to monitor all of that for you. But today, for the most part, like I said, we're just celebrating the fact that we have a few showers and thunderstorms in our area. A nice little, just some cooler temperatures for sure. We got the clouds moving in. We have the showers and thunderstorms that are bringing a little, just kind of a refresh of rain. And as I mentioned, we really have not been looking at any kind of drought conditions for our area. I want to pull up something really quickly and look. Yeah, no drought conditions in our area as far as what we got Thursday, this past Thursday, which goes back to the previous Monday or Tuesday. Sometimes it goes back and forth. Excuse me. So we don't have any drought conditions going on here. Now, if we continue with the predominantly dry air that we have had over the past couple of weeks here, that could start to deteriorate as we get later into August towards September, but we'll have to see what happens. For now, we're very, very fortunate. We've had it easy this summer, only a few days over 100 degrees, and I think we may get through this week without any triple digits. We'll see what the end of the week looks like. But moving into next weekend, hey, looks like we're maybe closer to the mid 90s. And normal right now is 97, 98 degrees. And so we do have that in the forecast for the majority of the week. Mid 90s Monday, Tuesday, back up to upper 90s for the rest of the week there. But overall, we've been very fortunate this summer. So these showers and thunderstorms will continue across our area. I'm not seeing anything too terribly intense right now. The heaviest activity right now stretching from Ferris on east of Mesquite up into Rockwall right now. Pretty garden variety showers and thunderstorms in parts of Johnson and Hill counties here. That blue polygon, like I said, kind of this blue box here, that is the special weather statement. Winds in excess of 40 miles per hour. Not severe, but intense enough to warrant some mention, and then this will continue on, and as we see this round of storms kind of start to run out of gas, more outflow boundaries can be expected. Those can create more storms as we go forward. So expect the possibility of at least a few showers and thunderstorms moving through the rest of our area. Again, if you're in Southern Hill County, Southern Ellis County, Navarro County, those places that haven't quite seen this yet, there's no telling whether you'll get just a garden variety shower or an intense thunderstorm. It kind of depends on where we are in that cycle as this makes its way forward. But a decent chance of at least getting some rain throughout the rest of our area. And then, like I said, next chance of rain arrives tomorrow morning. So stay tuned. I'll keep posting updates on this. You want to make sure you're following us on Facebook and X. Those are the places that get the more periodic updates in between our live streams and those kinds of things here. So make sure you're following us there. Always follow us on YouTube for the best video content. And we will continue to monitor these showers and thunderstorms as we go through the rest of the afternoon.
A smile upon your face, and I see something shimmering in your eyes. And they say if you want